I would go straight into the conversation. I know it's currently being recorded, and whatever is recorded is guaranteed to help a lot of people understand what I'm trying to pass across. So, for reference sake, I am currently speaking on three overlooked agribusiness that guarantees between 30% returns to 50% returns annually, right? So you're looking at going into agricultural business typically, and you're targeting, say like you're targeting to have, say like 30% annual returns as much as possible as in your business, or you're looking at generating 50% returns in your business within a year, right? Those kind of business actually exist in the agricultural sector. It's not impossible. You just need to know which one actually falls into that category. So this is 2023 and you're looking at you want to go into business, you want to diversify your approach, you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. And you're looking at what business is going to help you, right? It doesn't matter whether you're in Nigeria, because I'm currently in Nigeria. It doesn't matter whether you're in Nigeria or you're outside Nigeria. Agricultural business anywhere can actually get you such results. However, doing experimentation will not get you the results. You're not going to get results through experimentation. You're going to get it through deliberate action, right? So there are steps by steps and there are actions by actions that you must do or follow through with that would help you start a business, and that business will not fail. Because if you don't have that, then you're going to go through the general processes. You see, business go through different phases. There's always the pilot phase in business, and then there's the probate phase in business, and then there's the launch phase in business. So I'm just going to quickly touch on those three differences. The pilot phase in business is a phase where you actually you assert that what you're trying to offer, people are willing to buy. You see, business is all about buying and selling, whether it's idea, it's service, or it's products. Typically, business is buying and selling. So if what you're selling is not received by the next person, the truth there is, the truth there is that you would go down, right? You're going to close that business eventually, or that business is going to become unfruitful because what you're selling, either service or products, is not being accepted by the audience. And that's why you need to go through a pilot phase where you learn if your audience are really interested in what you're selling. They have to be, right? That's the only way you succeed in business. So after you understand the pilot phase and it's a bit successful, then the next thing you want to take note of is the probate phase. So now this is the point where you want to stretch your description a bit in that business. You want to make sure that, let's say you're offering one service before, you could make it two. Let's say before, or once the service you're running before is within a certain description, you could expand it. Now, let's say, for example, you're offering it at a certain price, you want to increase it or reduce it, depending on what you studied or you experienced in the pilot phase. Now, this is you stretching your audience and your customer segments a little bit more, right? But just so you can see, okay, what can they accept, what can they accept? It's possible that during the pilot, a certain method you're using is, or how will I call it? A certain method of approach you're using attracted so much people. But then when you go into the probate phase and you're stretching your clients, they may run away, right? And if they run away, it means that that experimentation you're running is not good for you. So then you have to trace your steps back and then refine it before you're done with the probate phase. After which, of course, you typically may have to now launch aggressively. It's very, very important that you have all of these phases. So now, this summary of this whole conversation for us is, which agricultural business can you consider, right, that can help you get 30 to 50%? Now, for those that are not really into agriculture as a sector, but want to also know what business can give you that kind of return, it's simple metric. By the time I'm done describing how to achieve this, it may help you. And when I mean it may help you, it means that if you apply the same principles, you'll be able to detect other businesses that are not in the agricultural sector that you can start as an individual that might earn you 34, 50%. Right? As I said, this is not limited to Nigeria, right? This is most of the things that is affecting Nigeria is equally affecting the global world. Maybe some country more than the others. So it's not going to be uncommon for what I'm seeing to be more relatable for Africans that are living in Africa than it might be relatable for those living outside Africa. So as I said, I'm just going to go into it. It's a 3 days program, and that program I'm going to be focusing on one overlooked business after another. So in the first today I'm going to focus on one overlooked business. Tomorrow I'm going to focus on another overlooked business, and then on Thursday I'm going to focus on the last overlooked business in the agriculture sector that can earn you that kind of revenue. You see, if you understand how financial works, which is very important that you do anyway, but if you understand how financial works, you will come to understand that 30% return on investments does not necessarily mean that you are super wealthy yet. It only means that, okay, good afternoon. I would attend, of course, to greetings too over time. So it doesn't mean that you're super profitable yet. When you're getting 30% return on investment from a business annually, what it means is, let's say you invest ₦1 million into that business or that service, right? That product or service. You invest ₦1 million or $1 million into that operation, that business. 30% means that you're able to generate 30% of that value as a net revenue in a year, right? Now, that net revenue, for some people, it could be net profit. They might be targeting that they want net profit, but most of the time it's net revenue that you're going to get, because not net profit necessarily. And that net profit is still going to be churned down by other things. Net revenue is going to be churned down by other things. So you can get that within a year. So in a real sense, you need a business that churns in 30 to 50% in the early phase for your business to be a thriving business. It's very, very important. And if you're here because you want to invest in other businesses that have such, then you may also need to listen to what I have to say to know what other business you could put in that light. So there are other businesses that have this sort of revenue, and if you want to invest in them to pay you this sort of value, then you need to understand if it's realistic for them to have such values in the first place. You see, one of the reasons why a lot of, particularly Nigeria, right? As I said, I'm in Nigeria, so I'm going to use Nigeria a lot as an example. Particularly in Nigeria, many businesses have failed so far because they promise returns that is not achievable for them. So if you can't make a certain return and you promise something similar to your audience, to your partners, it won't take long before you crash out. So let me give you an example. As a new business, or as a certain business that does a certain service or product, and then you invite partners to come and invest in your big dreams and your ideas and your vision, and they start, of course, they invest into it. Now, and they ask you, why should I invest in you? And you tell them that, oh, this business, if done properly, you could get 30% return. And let's assume right now that the real return, that all things go well, no unforeseen circumstances, no challenges, you get to earn 40% return on investment, right? That is the guarantees. But now when you're speaking to clients, you're not giving them 30% return. What that means is that you will be having only 10% remaining for you, right? And that's logically if nothing goes wrong in that project. Now, and that type of business you want to give to your clients also means that you will not have enough money left to expand your operations as you see fit, except you have to go back to that same client and ask them that, well, I delivered the last time, the return on investment I promised you, give me more money. And the goal is for me to be able to do more this time around and then give you better value. If the client likes it, it pays you again, and then you go into that rat race. But if the client is not enjoying that settings, you're alone. So what a lot of business don't understand is, if you are having 40% as your own revenue, it's logical that you don't promise 30%, right? Why don't you promise 10-15% to external partners? But then it's there. Now, if a business is going to promise 30%, it means that business is actually earning 60 to 70% themselves, and then they can promise 30% to external clients. Beautiful. But that's not the case most of the time. Just a check. If you can hear me and you're on the call, let me know. You can hear me very well, clearly, no breakage. Let me know. You can say hi in the call messages. I think that works. I'm still a bit new to Instagram Live. We've always been a Google Meet person. I've always been a Google Meet person. I'm trying to see how to balance Instagram Live as much as possible. You can hear me very well. Drop a hi in the call messages. It helps me know that, okay, I'm clear enough or audible enough. All right, I'm waiting for that eye to drop. It's very, very important that I'm able to communicate with my audience. So while I'm waiting for that eye, the truth there is, over the next 2-3 days, of course, I may be bringing in someone. Oh, thank you, very clear, thank you. I may be bringing someone into the call, other agricultural experts that would talk on other sides of businesses that thrives very well. And the reason there is so that you can have a lot of people tell you the secrets in the agricultural sector. After all, we're talking about agribusiness as a concise sector to do business in. And there are a lot of things that work there. You just require the right people to tell you what is happening. Not people that have not really experienced it. I can tell you a bit about it, not everything, but a bit, because this is my 8 years in the sector, right? And I've served across both the crop, both the animal, both the service, and both the product side of things. So I have a bit of industry specific knowledge in the agricultural sector that can help me tell you how to go into it and what not to go into when you go into the agricultural sector, and what are things that require a lot of time to yield and what are things that require shorter times to yield. So as I was saying, basically is that 30-50% annually as a return for you doesn't necessarily mean that you are super profitable yet. It only means that you're building a business that is strong, right? 30-50% return from a business that you created within a year only indicates a strong metric. And I said that, how do you count that? It is simple. Thank you. I can see hi. Thank you for reaching out. I'm really, really grateful. So for me, right, 30-50% means that if you invest, let's say $1 million into that business in the beginning, typically at the end of the day, you're expecting maybe half of that money as your net revenue in the first year. You're expecting 30% of that as a net revenue in the first year. So, for example, that's $300,000 in the first year as your net revenue. For a business you invest $1 million into, knowing fully well that this business is going to last for a lot of time. So in second year, you add a little money to expand operations, but then you're getting that value. Before you know, within 3 years or 4 years, you've actually accumulated and all the revenue you've invested into that business, right? And even the business is still continuing and still doing much more better. So that is what this thing means. And as I said, if you want to invest into another company, into another business, it's very important that you know what those businesses are all about. And it's simple, find out what they do and see if it's logical enough for them to earn the revenue they are promising. Now, I'll be looking at only one product. I have 45 minutes each day to discuss with us and help us see what is applicable and what is available, and how you can earn those revenue numbers I told you about in terms of returns as much as possible. So for today, I will be talking largely on a land acquisition. That is today's one of the overlooked business model in the agricultural sector. I'm not talking about real estate right now. In the real estate, we know that it's a battle for land. In the real estate sector, the transaction is primarily based on land. You buy and sell land. You buy and sell land. In some cases, you buy, add value, and sell land. Right? Some real estate does that, right? There's a place in Australia, in Perth, in Australia. They call it the city of Gosnell. Now that city now, right? That's where Chris Hemsworth stays. But then, if you look at that place, they had so much value through the impact of celebrity status. And then those people are able to attract high net worth individuals into that place and make that place a very, very nice getaway spot for them. So at the end of the day, it is the value you had that makes the estate a great one at the end of the day. So land acquisition is something that is overlooked in the agricultural business. A lot of people don't buy agricultural land because they feel like, oh, it's not, how will I say it? It's not the land you build on. So people don't buy agricultural lands a lot. But now I'll tell you that that's not a great advice. Agricultural land are one of the most strategic business you could go into in the agricultural sector, and that's what I'm focusing on today. Agricultural lands are cheap. Of course, they are remote, but they are cheap, and you can get them when everybody is not paying attention. You see, when everybody is competing for city land, agricultural land are largely being overlooked. But a city land today was once an agricultural land as much as possible, right? So why others are competing for lands in the city, you can always look at strategic areas where currently it's a farmland region, but then is starting to become an important region, right? I'll give you an example. You see, in Nigeria, Lagos-Ibadan Expressway is an important expressway in Nigeria, if not even by far the most busiest expressway in Nigeria, right? It connects the city of Ibadan to the city of Lagos. And now this is a long straight road, right? And there's a lot of industrial activity happening in Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. So much industrial activity is happening on that part, right? Now, there was a man there that got over close to, it's not 2,000 acres in the early 90s, early 2000s, right? And now he's selling those lands to industries. But that man saw ahead. He didn't buy those on the road anyway, because the ones on the road had so much competition. So he bought the one behind those ones that are obviously on the road, that everybody's vying for, everybody's fighting for. So he bought those ones, he bought the ones behind them, and he bought them in hundreds and hundreds of acres. He didn't buy it in one location, he bought at several locations. Now, fast forward 20 years after, right? So much activity is happening there, and the demand is skyrocketing. Nobody could get roadside land anymore. So, but they want to stay there nonetheless. They want to stay as close to the road as possible, to that road as much as possible. Their market is Lagos, and they want to serve their markets, but then they need to be somewhere close to raw material or close to clients, and then they started buying this land. This man made so much money. When he was giving his speech, he said some of this land, he bought them per acre for as low as 50,000 naira, 20,000 naira, 100,000 naira. Some of these lands, he bought them at that ridiculous prices back then, right? 20,000 naira. Some of them were bought at ridiculously annoying price. That's at that time, some people were spending on a plot in a city that is heavily contested for. But just 20 years, 15 years, 20 years afterwards, the man is selling it in millions. He's saying currently right now, some of his lands are being, 100 million is not even enough to buy some of the land he has, an acreage of it, some of the land he has anymore. Not because it's in a city yet, but because of the industrial activities that are happening there. All he did was, if he looked ahead, he examined the future, and then he bought with that mindset, with that projection in mind. So as I'm saying, every major place that opened up for business activity today, for residential activity today, was once a farmland. Buying it in excess, or buying it in abundance rather, is a strategic overlooked business that you can tap into, right? So there are a lot of farmland right now that's still selling for as cheap as 300,000 per acre in Ogun State, even close to Shagamu interchange, and that's the truth. And that is Nigeria. This thing is also applicable in other African countries as well. There are places that strategically you could look into and get land there. Now, you may wonder that, I'll have to wait for 20 more years, because the example I just gave now, it was around 20 years with time, right? Now, you're looking at, I'm going to wait for 20 years. Let me tell you why you won't wait for 20 years if you pick a good area. It's because, you see, I usually use the Nigerian population factor, right? Which I still shared this morning on my status on WhatsApp. For those that don't have me there, well, maybe you should add me on your WhatsApp so you can see one of the things I post from time to time. Now, I posted a status today that showed Nigeria crossing 200 million people in 2017. And 206 million was our population in 2017. Now, the truth about that was the fact that this drive in people was what necessitated the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway opening up. Now, it opened up because a lot of factories and industry in Lagos need to have their factories built outside Lagos to avoid road congestion, to avoid road blocks, to avoid even the high cost of maintenance and setup of businesses in Lagos. So they are looking for somewhere a bit remote, or better, less congested. So they started looking at that area. But the reason why they were looking to go that far is because there's a large demand of people they need to offer. They need to service. But then they could not service them for one or two other reasons. And that was why they moved to these places to meet audience. One minute, please. I keep speaking. I'm trying to work on something in the background. But then the population necessitated the need for these businesses to go outside Lagos, right? And when they went outside Lagos, they helped develop these lands that didn't, or supposedly didn't have so much value. And that is what will happen in the future. But now, unlike the last 20 years, that Nigeria only grew by less than 70, 60 million. In the next 30 years, Nigeria will be growing by almost 200 million. And now, I want you to understand what that value means. Over the last 20, 30 years, Nigeria only grew barely above 100 million, not even up to 100 million. 100 million population happened between late 1990s, very late 1990s, and early 2000s. That's when it started, the trajectory started happening. So we didn't even add more than 100 million in the last 20, 30 years. But in the next 20, 30 years, we'll be adding almost close to 200 million people to us. What I'm trying to say is that land you're about to invest your efforts into, or as long as it's a strategic location, is bound to accelerate in value. Because with 200 million people, the demand is going to skyrocket. It's going to multiply. So in ways you can't even begin to fathom right now. Whatever your mind is thinking, multiply it, and that's the reality that will be very soon. So that is why this business is not something you can overlook, right? So you're wondering that, oh, how about if I have challenges in terms of knowing what the document is? It a good land? Is it an original land? Is whatever it is you're thinking, right? There is a solution. So in Nigeria, I don't know about other African countries, but there are all processes everywhere. Whenever you're getting land, there's processes everywhere. In Nigeria, of course, you want to go and inspect the land, check whether it's a good land, right? 2, you want to make a search from the government, right? Every land in every state, the government has its mapped out. Most likely either with the Bureau of Lands, if you have that, or with the surveyor's office, or the office controlling all the survey activities in the states. Now, when you get there, it's very important that you find out, oh, I want to check a land in this certain environment in the states. Is it available for purchase? Right? It's called you checking for government encumbrances. Is it available for purchase? Yes. Okay. No. Why is it not available? Is it that someone has gotten it before? Yes, it has been purchased before. And on our database, Mr. A, Mr. B, Mr. C purchased the land. Oh, you try to find out who that person is. You try to understand more about this, all called background check. It typically takes a month thereabouts, and you have all these checks in place. After you've find out all of these things, then who do you pay? Then you pay the right person, you get your documents, you seal it in an agreement, and then you get the CFO, certificate of occupancy, if you want to, or you have the money to that right away, and you register the survey. When you register the survey, what it does is it helps the government know that you are the one that have registered that place as a surveyed land, right? And it's very, very important because it helps you keep ownership of your land. And that is how you do that. Then after you're done, oh, will I leave it fallow for 5, 10 years? Well, it doesn't have to be fallow for 5, 10 years, right? You could literally pick that land and give life to it. So whenever we buy land, right, I'm talking about me and my team this time around. When we buy land, we usually forecast how long that land would take before it starts seeing a competition from the residential side of things, or people start aggregating so much in the region enough to start bringing a form of competition alive. So you also have to do the same thing typically, right? You need to project, right? There are many decisions in projecting. You ask the state what the plan the state has, and there are many ways to know what the state has planned. When you go to land of Bureau, so ask, and I'm talking about Nigeria right now, I'm certain there's a way for other countries as well. Now, in Nigeria, when you go to the Bureau of Lands, you ask them what are the government acquisition around the environment. So there could be 1 or 2 government acquisition or lands that are under government acquisition within that environment. Your duty is to know what they are for. Is it an agricultural acquisition? Is it for residential acquisition? Is it industrial? Is it for industrial acquisition? What is the theme of why the government has reserved that land? Once you understand what that is, right, you can have a mind of what is coming there very soon. Now, the question there is, now look at what the plan is. Government, some state have 20-year plan, 30-year plan, 40-year plan. Sometimes you can, if you meet the right people, you could even know, is it 20 years plan that is aggregated for this project or 10 years plan? That would help you know, okay, at that time there will be a lot of activity going on in this place. So let me strategically position myself for this period. Sometimes some land you're going to buy is going to be, we need 10 years more. Some may need 15 years more. Some may only need 5 years more. because of those things. Now, that indices you look at again is how the city is encroaching close to the place. So say like the city is 15, 20, 30 minutes from that place, and that city is already seeing a rise in population. That only tells you that the farmland you've purchased would increase in value very soon, right? So those are strategic. Now you now have to wonder at what value are you targeting? If you're looking at reselling, some people are always going to buy farmland just to resell because it's cheaper when you buy it, and then it's a good tie of fund, right? It's great. What would I call it? A great store of wealth. So you buy it, of course, you own it. Now you have to project how much, at what counter will I sell this thing off? Is it when you achieve ×2? When you achieve ×3? When you achieve ×4? There's most farmland, I won't lie to you, farmland can achieve as much as 1000% increase in as low as 10 years. And what that tells you is that it is appreciating at 100% of the original value year in, year out for 10 years. And that's 1000%. And many farmland can appreciate that much. I won't lie to you. I mean literally that much. I just told you in the beginning of this call that there's a man in Lagos Ibadan Expressway in Nigeria that bought a lot of land in that place. It's the most busy express in Nigeria. It has been for years. And he bought his acreage of land there for 50,000 naira in the early 2000s, for 30,000, some for 20,000 naira. And now he's selling an acre for 100 million, right? He's selling them, some of them for 50 million, some for 100, some for more, right? That is not 1,000 increase. That's almost 2,000 to 3,000 to 5,000 increase, all because of 20 years. Now, if you calculate that, that particular, the 50,000 on to 100 million, you're looking at almost, that's almost over 100% annually of the original value. Over even 200%. So what I'm trying to say is, it's an overlooked business model. It doesn't matter whether Nigeria or other country. Farmlands are largely overlooked. Whenever people are talking about real estate and buying of farmland, what they think about is going to buy a land in the city or somewhere very, very close to the city. That's what everybody think about when they talk about real estate. But the truth is, farmlands are a great buy. It's just that a lot of people usually overlook that business model. So if you're going to want to break even, right, you want to do well, you want to create a business that will guarantee you wealth, buying farmland should be part of your plan. This 2023, we are still in February. I'm not saying you should buy it now in February. If you don't have the money, cool. You don't have to rush it. It's just, the goal is simple. Put it in your plan. It starts by you writing it down, right? And that is why I love Brian Tracy so much. Brian Tracy says whatever you write down, as the fact that you wrote it down a lot, there is a 50% chance it will come to pass. So any goal that is written down has 50% or more chance of coming to pass than a goal that is not written down. So the moment you take your pen and your biro and that special book of yours and you write it, I'm going to buy 100 acres this year. You don't even know where you're going to buy it at. You don't know what state you're buying it at. But you just know I'm buying 100 acres this year. You wrote that down. You behold it every morning. You open it every morning. You open it every week. You read it out to yourself. And then you go out to do your work. Gradually, you're going to be having that mind behind you that you have a goal to achieve. And once you buy it, then you take the next step. You see, life happens and unfolds one step at a time. Life is just like a flower. When it's about to bloom, it is one petal after another. They all don't come alive in most cases at the same time. It's usually one petal after another, and then they expand. Except all the petals are well expanded, the beauty of the flowers will not show. And that is how life is. Nature is what teaches you how life works. So you write that down to you want to buy those land. Then the next step is making sure that you get all the documents for those land. The third one is what do you do with the land, pending when the value appreciates. And that is where I'm going to tell you that you should go into farming. You see, if I didn't put that factor, then it's not an agribusiness opportunity in the first place. You could rent it out to other farmers to farm on it. You see, Nigeria will need a lot of food. Forget, I was telling you about the exponential growth we're about to experience. What you should have understand is that the exponential growth will not work without food. I was reading a brief this morning that was being spoken by the Vice President of the Republic of Nigeria. And he was saying that so much malnutrition is going on at the moment. The future of Nigeria is looking gloomy Now, of course, media has a way of coining words. That might not how we used it. The media just might use that part to attract audience. But the truth is, that is it. Nigeria is now the poverty capital of the world. There's a reason why that is so. With 62% multidimensional poverty happening right now on many Nigerians. So you can understand that food is something that is not deliberate, it's not negotiable. It's as a matter of fact, in the inflation our inflation that had risen 21 to 23%, food inflation contributed more than half of that inflation. So food is something that is important that must be produced. So even though you've bought that 100 acres, you've bought that 50 acres, you've bought that 20 acres, if you can farm on it, endeavor to lease it out. Lease it to someone. Lease it to a farmer, or you yourself produce something on it. It doesn't matter how far you go, just make sure that something's coming out of you, right? And then you achieve that. But then of course, they are high value. You see, different things you do in the agriculture sector will yield you different certain results. Say like you go into maize, you're going to earn a different revenue than when you go into plantain, than when you go into lentils, like when you go into carrots or vegetables. They all have different things that are going to earn you as value, right? So it's your choice, it's your own research to research what products you would like to go into that would earn you the best revenue. And that is the truth. So for me right now, my advice to you is, after you've gotten the land, then you look at how to work on that land. Of course, the coming overlooked business I'm going to touch, there are many overlooked businesses. I'm only focusing on 3 between today, tomorrow, and next tomorrow to help you see highlights in that. But then tomorrow I'm going to touch on other things you could do. Some of them, of course, farming inclined that you could look into. Today I've focused on the land factor. That's the primary goal today. The land factor and how you could buy it. And because they are ridiculously cheap, they could mean so much revenue. Now, the goal is 30 to 50% annually. And that is the truth. This land can get you that on an annual basis. And also on this land, all you need to do is hold them for as much as 2 years. I won't lie to you. There are some lands we purchased in 2021 that we're already selling at double the price this year. I'm talking about this year, being 2023, right? That means that they've accumulated 100% return on investment. And it means that if we're dividing that by the number of years we've acquired it, it means that 50% annually. So it's that it's actually possible. You just have to think out of the box and end. But then you want to know how we got that from that value to 100% in 2 years, in less than 2 years. It's based on value. I don't have issues. If you've gone to our video, you'd have seen me talk about how to build value on a land, or how to build a land's value over time. And that's the secret in it. It's not just buying the land that makes the land appreciate. It is the values. You'll be surprised that some lands, 2 people will get the same land in the same environment, but then after they buy it at the same price, they will both sell it at a different price the next year. What differentiates the 2 of them is that one of them have added the value on that land, while the other one have left the land without value or any necessary value and allow nature to add value to it. And that's what differentiates the price they earn from the same land that they bought the same value. So that is the mind basically. As I said, this session is 45-minute session. So in the next 8 minutes, this Instagram live is going to be going off, and then we'll have another session again tomorrow by 12 to 12:45. So if you have any questions for whatsoever questions around that land, you can start typing them in the call messages. If I don't see questions there by the time of the live is going off, then I assume that probably everything I said was gotten well enough. Not really much questions there. I noticed a couple of us are going in and out. I think at some point 6 people came in and they left, and then 10, 12, 15 came in and they left per time. I think that is it. But this video, the good thing about Instagram live is this video is going to be in my on my platform, on my profile, or my feed, whichever the case is. You can always pick it and re-listen. And if you have any question during that period, you could always drop me a question as a message instead. So if you have any question about how to go about the land, or what you need to know about getting land or farmlands, as I said, you can always drop a message here. Or is there something you don't understand about getting farmlands? Because as I said, it's a core investment that you must learn to put in place. It's a core investment that is guaranteed to help you. No, I'm not saying you should not buy land in the city. Once you have 1 or 2 land in the city, one of them you're living in, the other one an investment is enough. Go and buy farmland. And within 2, 3, 5 years, you're starting to make minimum 50% year in, year out as return on investments, and leaving it for that 5 years is accumulated 250% returns. And I promise you it's possible. So all you just need to do is know the hows behind it. This session is supposed to trigger that thought for us. Let us know what is possible. Open us to overlooked agricultural businesses that you could take. And for today, I've only focused on one: buying of farmlands only to sell later. Because the city of today was the farm of yesterday. So all you just need to do is buy the farm of yesterday, and so you create the city of today. And it's just a simple truth. Any sane investor or sane real estate business mogul will tell you the same thing. And that is all you need to know. That the farm of yesterday is what became the city of today. In any country, in any state, in any region. So all you just need to do is buy so much of that farm, and in the future, you'll be selling so much of the land of the city. So all you have to do is buy it, watch it grow, and your business is going to explode. So you want to have questions regarding that? As I said, you can ask me. This is already 12:40. I've got 5 more minutes to the end of this Instagram live. I'm also on Twitter right now. I'm doing a Twitter space. For those that are there as well, you have any questions on Twitter space at the moment, you can always ask or use the direct message to reach out to me and let me know what your concerns are. But don't be scared. I think I need to address that word, fear. Fear is your enemy. Do it afraid. It's very. I will tell you that people say that every day, that you should do it afraid. Yes, do it afraid. Don't be scared, right? What happens if you succeed? Right? What happened? Have you ever thought of what happened if you succeed? Because when you're scared, the only thing we usually think about most of the time is what happens if I don't succeed? How much loss will I be if this thing does not succeed? That is what we think about when we are scared the most. But have you thought about what happens if you succeed? Right? Because you're going to succeed. And when you succeed, it's going to be great. So think about what happens when you succeed. And don't think about what happens if you don't succeed. Focus more on that. Do it with coconut head. In Nigeria, there are people that we usually refer to them that they have coconut head. And what that statement usually means is that they are stubborn and they are not easy to put off. Whether you say whatever you want to say, they are just determined to stay glued to what they are doing. We call them coconut head people. They have coconut head, right? They are stubborn. So do that business being afraid. Go into the opportunity being afraid. Don't be too comfortable. Don't expect every opportunity to make you feel comfortable. Then you're not ready to go forward, right? Do it afraid. Oh yes, a colleague of mine is saying Agege today was once a farmland. And ask any major Lagosians, they'll tell you that truth. Many Lagosians will agree with you that Agege was once a farmland. We used to have an old picture. I think I would try and get that picture and put it on my story, so you can see that Agege, that today they sell land there for over 70 million, 100 million, 50 million, was once a farmland that was sold for less than 2,000 naira, right? And that was the reality. So as I said, it's there. If you're in Lagos, there's Ekpe, there's Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, there's Ifo. There are a lot of places that you could tap into. There's some places after Badagry, right? For those in Lagos, for those in other cities, other states, and just strategically place yourself well. There are places that if you think very well enough, you will invest in those places. So for me, to you, right? Because you must have heard that in my videos. I use that a lot. Thank you for joining this Instagram live. I was a bit tense starting it because I said I'm used to doing Google Meet instead. I'm used to the private stuff, speaking to clients privately and helping them series in. I'm just trying to be a bit more in the public as opposed to what I usually do before. So well, it went well, all things considering. So join me tomorrow 12 to 12:45. We're going to touch the second overlooked agribusiness. We've touched the first today, which is farmland, buying of farmlands. Tomorrow we'll touch the second one, and next tomorrow we'll touch by next tomorrow we'll touch the third one. I'm going to be bringing someone for you that will speak to you, right? That will talk to you. And then when that person come around, I won't give the person's name out. When the person come around, I'm certain you will love the person and it's the idea he has to share with us. So stick with me, and somehow this year, you're going to finish it having a business of your own or investing and partnering with businesses of the future. All right? Thanks so much for your time today. Have a wonderful day. If there are any questions, use my private message to reach out to me, and I'll be more than happy to answer them for you. Thank you.